All right, get it going, bro. This is your recommendation, so I need you to lead this experience that we had, say the least.
To say the least. Okay, well, to start the pod, let's just do what we usually do. Uh, Watching or reading anything new?
Um, Nothing new. Same old, same old. Just been watching Invincible and my Severance show. So that's been my bread and butter these past couple months or weeks at least. So nothing really changing. Watching this, I've been lacking on Sakamoto days, so I'm probably gonna catch up. Have like 5 episodes waiting, so that's about it.
I actually put on a Sakamoto Days episode the other day,
Oh,
and
really?
I gotta agree with Xander.
Yeah.
The animation is so underwhelming. Like it just seems so budget friendly. Like yeah,
Yeah.
we could like it seems like somebody had an idea. Like we could save a ton of money if we do these couple things, and they won't even notice. But no, I notice. Like it's not.
So would you
I
feel
don't know.
like
It's just
would
underwhelming.
you feel like any manga that gets live replay should just get the top of the top budget and the best animation and all that? Because that's kind of the same thing that's happening with Invincible, where like people are saying like the animation is bad and it should be this type of way, when it's like, well, at least you're getting the show and you can watch it and they're doing it. Like, do you feel like if you can't give
No,
it the best production ever, you just shouldn't do it?
I so so not best production ever, but even in terms of like I think the average anime could probably look better than this. Like there's this one anime called what's it called? It's like Ender's Game or something like that. It's like an average one that got canceled, but I would say that season 1 animation looks better than Sakamoto Days. And I also think it has to do with like the story, like everyone knew, I think it was collectively known. Everyone knew that Sakamoto Days is one of the best action manga of like the modern mangas out there. So every single fan or person who knew anything about it thought if they make an adaptation, they got to give it like some decent animation, like
Yeah.
at least up to the standard. But I feel like the animation they're doing is below standard. Like it does look very HD, like the
Yeah.
lines look sharp, but I just think it looks extremely plain, not very detailed, and I think the adaptation, like the purpose is to elevate the material, and I'm like, I would much rather read the manga than watch this. Like I don't feel like it elevates the material.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe as people who have read the mangas, maybe they'll be more disappointed than people who are just stumbling across it and then they're like, "Oh, let me just pick this up." Maybe they wouldn't have too much to say about like, "Oh, the animation is horrible," because they don't have like something to reference it off, but us who have read it probably have a different lens of like, "Well, I already saw it look 10 times better than this. Like what's the point of watching something that's not as good?"
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's true. But also, it's like also with Invincible, both
yeah.
Invincible and Sakamoto Days are action comics. So
Yeah.
it's like that's action is movement. Like so if you're not making the movement like up to standard, like what are you doing? Like literally like how does a still picture have better movement than, a moving one? But I just think like if you're doing an action manga, you got to at least save the scenes to where when they're fighting, it's like incredible. You could do like the talking scenes, have all that crap you know, be still frames, but
Yeah.
at least put your time and effort towards the action. And I feel like Sakamoto Days from start to finish of on some episodes, like the animation doesn't increase or decrease at all. And I'm like, I don't know. Would I want a consistent animation, or would I rather just have the fight scenes look good? And I think I'd have the fight scenes just look good if I had to choose.
Yeah,
What
and
about you?
yeah, like I've been especially watching a lot of Invincible recently, and like you get like 50-minute episodes, so it's like you can look at the characters a lot. Like I've just seen, I'm like, why do they look so flat? Even on their flying scenes and stuff. Like some of the fights will be cool, right? Like they had a fight scene that just happened where it was Omni Man. He got into a fight, and that scene was okay. Like it wasn't like the craziest thing, but you'll go to like another scene where it's like Mark. He just looks like a flat piece of paper, like flying through the air with Eve, and I'm like, okay, like I could get it, but also it's like I feel like I'm also actively looking for it now because I'm going into it watching
Yeah.
like, okay, the animation's bad. Let me see where I can pick, where it's bad and whatever. So I feel like a part of me is also looking so deep into it, but at the same time, I'm like, like I also personally, I don't really care. Like I'm just watching it to watch it because I want to know what's happening in the story. So like that's kind of my biggest factor driving forward. Versus like Sakamoto days, I feel like I'll be a little more critical if the animation was worse because I already know the story. I don't really care for it. I'm kind of just rewatching to see cool fight scenes. Kind of same thing with Demon Slayer. Like if we
Uh-huh.
if we were to rewatch it, we don't care about the story because you and I already know how it ends. So we're just trying to watch like badass fight scenes. So that's where like
True. Like I'm not really trying to find out what happens. I'm just
yeah,
seeing how they tell the story. But if that's the case though, I feel like that goes to my point where I'm like, if I just want to know what happens, I could get the manga where it's drawn beautifully and the panels move like fluid from panel to panel and the the storytelling is done well and then I could
yeah,
just fill in the blanks in my head.
yeah.
So
Anyways, what have you been watching? Have you finished Smallville yet, or did you finish that
we
last week?
actually We actually did that.
Oh,
We've watched the Smallville season finale, and it was so satisfying. If I'm
really?
being honest,
Was that your first
again,
time?
I'm a huge, yeah. I've never seen
Oh, okay, nice.
Smallville before, so the finale was so satisfying because you get 10 freaking seasons of seeing him like question what he's gonna do with his abilities or his life, and then in the very last episode, he puts on the suit, and in the last
Oh,
10 minutes he goes and saves Lois Lane from a plane that's falling from the sky, and it's like holy shit. I saw this guy when he was just a little boy on a farm in Kansas, and
yeah.
now I'm watching him like save planes and push a planet out of the Earth's orbit, and it's
Damn.
just like, and then in the very final scene, he rips off his shirt to show his S symbol,
Okay,
and they have the
iconic.
classic, yeah, the iconic, and they also have the iconic John Williams score from the original Superman movies, and that was just the most like satisfying type of ending you could do for me because it checked all the boxes of what I wanted to see. Truly, the end of his like journey. He like, I am Superman now.
So, as a like, I know you're a Superman fan. What do you rank this version of Superman compared to like any of the other ones, like the classic ones, the Henry Cavill ones, or some of the first movie adaptation ones? Like, where does this one rank up?
Well, it's hard to compare because I was thinking recently, like after I saw Superman and Lois, that more modern Superman show,
Yeah.
I'm like, when you watch a movie, you basically get an hour, 30 minutes to 2 hours of, and you have to show everything in those 2 hours. And I'm like, that's just not enough time for superheroes. I'm like, if you had a Batman show that was live action, you could do so many different arcs, so many different mysteries, villains. You could have a story that's not like city breaking, but it's like if you do a Batman movie, you have to have the threat basically threaten Gotham City. Like, oh, we're going to flood the entire Gotham City. Or I'm Mr. Freeze. I'm going to freeze over the entire Gotham City. I'm the Joker. I'm going to make the entire Gotham City go crazy. It's always like a world or like state threat
Mm,
where I'm like,
yeah.
if you do TV shows, you could do like a serial killer who's on the loose, and you just have to catch him, and it's like a contained story. But you can do a 2 episode arc, and then have little things that happen in that arc affect the next 2-3 episode arc, and you could really spend way more time exploring the characters and getting to know them. And I felt that whenever I watch these TV shows, I'm like, man, I feel like I understand, or if I met this person, I would believe that this is a person that exists. I learned about their backstories. I saw them go through several different challenges, and it just covers way more ground than a 2-hour movie could do. Because then if you have some, world-ending villain in the first movie, what are you going to do for the next movie? You have to one-up it. And then that's why the third movie is always like puts themselves in a corner,
massive.
because they always have to think about it in terms of like the theater. But I'm like, if you guys did a TV show for these huge characters, I think it would benefit. Like, imagine a Batman TV show with a Game of Thrones budget where every single episode is 40 minutes. Yeah, but it has like the quality of a movie, So that's my opinion. So it's hard to rate it, because I'm like, it's not fair. I got to see 10 seasons of this Superman, so I know his personality. I literally know his mom and dad, like, versus the movies where you get such limited screen time. Like, it's not a fair comparison.
So this one's your favorite, though.
Which one's my favorite?
No, so this one would kind of be your favorite because you kind of know him the most, or
no?
Because he's not really Superman, right? Like until the end, versus everyone else is already like Superman in the movies.
Yeah, that's true. It just depends, because it's like a different portrayal. I can't compare like a teenage Clark to a full-grown Henry Cavill, because it's different stories, different criteria. But I'd say this one, Superman and Lois and Christopher Reeves, are like top 3 easily. And I would put Henry Cavill and Brandon Routh on the bottom in terms of like their character, not their portrayals or suits or stories, just their characters.
Nice. So you officially finished this one, Smallville. So you officially finished that one. And now you're on Ozark, right?
Yeah, still on Ozark. That freaking show, bro. Like, there's this. If anyone listening is planning to watch Ozark, I suggest skipping to whatever timestamp we put. But there's this scene where it's so like morbid, in my opinion. Like, not the content, what happens, or no, it's exactly the concept, not the visuals. Like, I'm not seeing violence. It's more like the content of what happened. So like, there's this pastor who is refusing to be involved in the drug trade, and he had no clue that they were using his services to distribute drugs, right? And when he finally refuses, his pregnant wife suddenly is missing. And then when he gets home, there's a crying baby on his table. And the baby's all clean. It's not bloody or anything. But he's just like, Grace? And then he like hugs the baby. And I just got this like morbid feeling, like in the pit of my stomach. Ooh. Like, fuck. Like, they really cut. Like, you can assume what happened. They murdered her, cut her open.
No.
Yeah, and then put the baby, like, they spared the baby, but it's like, damn, you guys did that to a pregnant woman? Like, it's so horrific. And then he goes through this this little scene where he was like, why should I even bring this baby into this world if it's so evil? Like, after what happened to his wife. And then he takes the baby out into a lake, and then he dunks the baby under the water. No. Yeah, and I'm like, no, what the fuck? And especially, bro, I got kids.
Baptizing it?
Yeah, I got kids. I'm like, fuck, this is so unsettling. And after like 30 seconds, he brings the baby back up, and then the baby just looks at him, and he's like, he like basically baptized the baby. But I'm just like, oh my God, my heart, like my balls were in my chest for that scene. Like, yeah, so that show goes to places where I'm like,
Yeah.
emotionally affected. You know, they do some crazy
It's
shit.
scarring you.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I got to take a break before I go to the next episode because this
Yeah.
is some heavy content.
Dang. And how long are each episodes? Like an hour?
Yeah, they're basically the classic like
Okay.
Breaking Bad, 45 minutes, 12 episodes per season.
Are you one season in yet?
That was like the season finale, I think, and so I'm on season 2 now.
So how would you compare the season 1 of this show and like season 1 of Breaking Bad?
Ooh, they're completely different because
Oh
Breaking
really?
Bad, yeah, Breaking Bad's about someone turning evil, but the show
Yeah.
starts off with someone who's already involved in the cartel, and he's just,
Oh, okay.
yeah, he's just
Okay.
trying to uh, clean up his own mess. Like he's constantly scrambling to fix things and different vibe, but the quality is,
Okay.
I'd say, just as good as Breaking Bad.
Nice. Okay. Um so are you ready to talk about this film that
I am. I know you're itching to shit
d-
on Jim Carrey.
whoa, bro. Let's why don't we ease into it,
Let's get to
bro?
the review
Let's
first.
let's uh
Okay.
let's go, bro. What movie are we talking about today?
You know what I noticed? We stopped explaining the movies or like the plot and the
We
characters.
just started shitting on it or talking about it.
Yeah, we just started right off. So let's start off with the quick
All
synopsis.
right, let's hear it.
This movie is Ace Ventura, starring Jim Carrey.
Mid
What's
Carey,
that other woman's name from Friends?
Courtney Cox, right? Courtney Cox.
Yeah, Courtney Cox. Who else? Some other actors that I'm not very
The,
familiar
the,
with. And so, go ahead.
they had Dan Marino, the star quarterback of the Dolphins. He was there, and then
Was he a real
yeah,
quarterback?
he was the actual quarterback that like led the Like
Oh, really?
yeah. I'll talk
Okay.
about that in a sec, but literally it was like, hey, is that Dan Marino? And it literally was Dan Marino. So I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm not a football guy at all, so I assumed every character was fiction
Hmm.
or like made up for the movie. But so the story of this movie is when the Dolphin mascot of Miami's NFL team is abducted, Ace Ventura, played by Jim Carrey, a zany private investigator who specializes in finding missing animals, looks into the case. Soon, Miami Dolphins players are kidnapped too, including star player Dan Marino,
Hey.
making Ace's sleuth work even more pressing. Working with Dolphins representative Melissa Robinson, Ace closes in on the culprits, but not before many ridiculous misadventures.
Uh,
All right.
Fun fact, real quick. We were just talking about Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Do you? And actually, Kaylin is the one who pointed this out when we were watching it. You know the landlord,
Yes.
the land.
He was Hector.
Yeah,
Hector.
Hector Salamanca from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So,
Bro, even Valerie recognized
oh
him.
really?
She's like, "Oh, it's the guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
the wheelchair guy."
I know. I didn't even realize that. It wasn't until Kaylin brought it up, and I was like, "Wait,
The audience the audience can't see it, but I'm doing a great impression of me like moving my face around trying to press the bell.
the lips and then
You can't see
the
it.
eyebrows."
Yeah, you can't see my lips, but I'm doing it.
Ew. It's an ugly face. Okay.
Okay, so
So yeah,
uh,
so basically Jim Carrey is a pet detective. He gets hired by the Miami Dolphins to go look for
Yeah.
their missing dolphin, and by the grace of God, he gets all these clues and stuff. And does he find the dolphin or not? I don't know. I guess you're gonna have to watch the movie, but we'll probably spoil that in the review. But anyways, we'll
we're
let's
definitely gonna spoil
let's get right into it.
okay, so what are your thoughts going in? Because I know you're not a Jim Carrey fan at all. And I already know, bro, I literally know exactly what you mean by like, I was correct. I know exactly what you mean.
Exactly, because
He-
okay.
No.
I said in our last review and in our Sonic review, like, I'm not a Jim Carrey fan. I'll try to appreciate what he's done for comedy, and I'll try my best to have open arms into this film. So, and we also talked about we want to have our meter in the middle, and that's it. But
Okay.
So I went in there, meter in the middle,
Meter in the
in
middle.
the not in the red, not in the green, in the middle with neutral. So
Uh
I
huh.
was ready, and and then the first 5 minutes just disappointed me because right away it gets right into my critiques with Jim Carrey, bro. It gets right into I'm gonna make funny faces. He showed his teeth. He says his catchphrase. All right, then, and then looks to the side, and then has his teeth, and he's moving, he's shaking, and he's.
Bro, see, that's my problem though.
No, no, no.
That's not the
Th-
joke. That like him showing his teeth is not the
That's what
joke.
I'm
That's
saying. Why
not
is
part of the
that?
joke.
Why is that funny? And the only reason you
It's
add these things, like just because you would know this as someone, a director would make every single piece in the shot have a meaning. And so the reason behind him making any face, any movement is to add comedy. But I have no idea how that is comedic. And so within the first 5 minutes, I'm like, this is my first like other Jim Carrey. Yeah. And right away it does that. And so right away it just confirmed my original thought. And so throughout the whole movie, it's just more of that, 10 times more, 50 times
so
more.
so so what's your problem with a wacky character? Like he's just that's his version of a wacky character.
I'm just like, I don't like wacky characters because
Why? What's your problem with wacky
it's
characters?
not, it,
If I had his teeth, bro, his teeth are porcelain, porcelain white and straight. I would be showing. I would be smiling too.
bro, I think the only parts I laughed were when Jim Carrey was not in the scene. And like,
No way, bro. This movie was actually funny from like start to finish.
wait,
Like
are you being
there were
serious?
several scenes where I was cracking. Yeah,
Wait,
there were several scenes where I was like crying, laughing.
no.
Literally,
Name one.
for me,
Name
the
one.
one like one simple thing when he walks into that party and he's like walking so weird with his neck. That movement is cracking me up because I told Valerie it felt like his character is someone who knows he's in a simulation, so he like doesn't care, like he's not taking anything seriously, like everyone around him is serious and he just doesn't give a fuck and he just constantly like trolls everyone. And I thought it was entertaining because I like seeing someone not taking things like literally just from him walking, the way he was bobbing his head.
No.
You're telling me you didn't crack a smile when he was walking in the
I
party, bobbing his head left or right with his lanky body?
No, I don't think I laughed a single time at any body movement. I was like, this is so cringe. Like, this is why are you doing this? This is him trying so hard to do anything. He felt like I just kept thinking he's a child in a man's body. Like he's doing what a child would think he needs to do at a fancy gathering or this. I'm just like, bro, I could every time I saw his character, I was just like, you're being overly goofy, and you have these characters that are serious. That that
Okay, you can't be
no.
overly goofy. You can't be overly goofy.
Yes, you can be overly goofy.
That's an
No.
oxymoron. Goofy is extra in and of itself.
Yeah.
You can't be overly
Yeah,
goofy.
just imagine Goofy, and then he's like more goofy. That's what extra goofy is, and he is extra goofy.
He's the
He's
goofiest.
he's extra goofy. In this, like no, he'd have the normal characters. Like he'll say the most craziest thing, and like if they didn't hear that, they just continue on. Like if he didn't just say the most absurd thing ever, and it would be like he did not just say that. He said a normal sentence in their eyes, and they just continue the conversation as if he didn't just say the most absurd thing. So I was like, bro, these characters don't even acknowledge his
They're all
craziness.
they're all they're all familiar with him. They literally
No.
say like, "Bro, get out! I can't deal with this." They've dealt with it
Yeah,
forever.
no,
They're all
maybe the
used to it.
detectives, but not the Courtney Cox
All the
character,
cops.
not the mansion guy, not all the bougie people guy, not the parents of the weird
Okay,
like
but that's every comedy movie ever. Not they don't have characters like react how they would in real life to the goofy guy in the
yeah.
movie. You could look at literally any comedy movie ever. They're not going, "Whoa, everyone needs to get this guy's crazy." They let the comedy person perform, and that's the joke.
And that's where maybe I have a problem with that type of comedy that's more of a performance and an act rather than actual substance stuff. Just because like as someone like I don't know, I like to listen to like comedy specials and like, funny podcasts where they have like comedians on, and the way they say things or the way they lead up to a joke, or they'll have like a witty remark, or they'll be able to reference, how something that they mentioned earlier back into a sentence. So
Oh,
like, like
oh,
stuff
oh,
that's
okay.
actually substance funny that makes sense
Oh, really?
versus something like Jim Carrey's character in this movie where it's like
No, no, no. This
he's
is
like he's like
crazy.
let me show my teeth.
This
My
is
teeth are so big.
crazy coming from. This is absolutely crazy coming from an Adam Sandler fan, which is
What?
literally the least substance.
Wait,
Really, he
can
he has
can
these
I
he
say
has these complex jokes that come back later, and it's like very complex written dialogue, bro.
but
Adam Sandler is literally the same
but
thing, just on
bro,
a different.
you're like
He's on the same autistic spectrum that Jim
Bro,
Carrey is.
you just came at me from left field though, because I've never once in my life said I think Adam Sandler is the funniest movie of all time. The reason I like Adam Sandler is because I grew up watching
Uh
him,
huh.
so he has a nostalgic feel in me. So
Okay.
even now, when I watch some of
Well,
his movies,
why did you watch him when you were younger? Admit it. You thought it was funny.
I probably did think it was fun, but
Yeah.
I would say
Don't don't
whoa,
don't
whoa, whoa,
dodge
whoa, whoa,
that.
whoa. My main reason I would definitely say is my mom was an Adam Sandler fan, and my mom is
Oh, you only
my,
watched it because of your
my
mom.
mom is the type to laugh at a Jim Carrey making a funny face person. Like that's her humor, right? So I can understand why
Uh
maybe
huh.
she'd like that type of humor stuff, but I was just watching it, by default because she would watch those type of things. So even now, like I'm not rewatching Adam Sandler movies. He just has like a place on my shelf of uh movies that I
Mm.
enjoyed, or even like would.
So you can admit his comedy is also trash.
I'd have to rewatch some of his older ones because I literally
Ah, see,
I don't have any of it. I don't have
bias.
any recent ones that I've watched that I'm like that's hilarious. But like Grown Ups, I feel like Grown Ups I'd have to rewatch, but I feel like that one's actually funny, not just making
That's
not
so crazy that you're claiming Grown Ups is like a complex written comedy with clever jokes.
yeah, but no, they don't have to be so complex, but they don't have to be so dumb to the point of let me make a funny face and shake my body and talk
I
and spread
think
no
I
no no
think you need
and
to.
spread my ass cheeks to talk like if it's a mouth and I'm gonna say that's hilarious. Like that's not funny. So that's where
I think you need to rewatch Grown Ups because that's all that comedy is. It's just dumb scenarios where somebody's showing their ass, or
no.
oh, we shot an arrow and we're all gonna trip because we're running from the arrow. That's such
But
a
see, it's
complex
something
comedy
something is
scene.
going on versus trying to make the joke funny just for being funny. Like Jim Carrey's trying to make it funny by just being a Jim Carrey impersonator and making face,
No,
and that's what
that's such a wrong take because that's
what
not the joke. In
that
like 99% of the scenes, that's
it
not the joke. Is that
is.
he made a funny
It
face?
kind of
It's not.
is.
So when he was showing that the sliding door was soundproof, the joke isn't him making a funny
It
face. It's
is.
the sound cutting in and out
It's
ridiculously
him.
or like so
It's
abruptly
him.
back and
It's
forth.
him going with his funny face, opening and closing the door. But even at that point, it wasn't that. I feel like that scene wasn't even meant to be a joke. That was a scene to.
That was actually meant to be that's false. That was actually meant to be a
That
joke. That
was
was one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
what?
That's an iconic scene. Like everyone laughs at that. How is that not meant to be a joke?
Yeah, I did not find that funny at all. So, like, there was
How?
because that's not funny. Like, just screaming. I get to make a point, but like, at that point also like Jim Carrey had made over 200 faces before that scene even came up. That I was like, okay, this is just another scene of him making a face. So I was like, whatever. Like,
That sounds like such a oversimplification because it's like I'm I'm comedically proving my point in an extra way that makes like there's also the
Okay,
dynamics.
if you
Like
want to,
the joke is funny because of the dynamic of a pet detective showing up all these professional cops and detectives in a exaggerated way, and it's like those dynamics are what make it funny, not just the face. Like who is he making the face to? A big posh billionaire guy who takes everything serious, and he's the one goofy guy in the room. It's all about the dynamics. The world he's
no.
in is trying to be serious, and he's uh, excelling by not being serious. Like he's actually an incredible detective.
And
Can you admit that he's an incredible detective?
we can
Like he
we can
rivals
talk about
Batman
that
at this
because I
point.
literally have that as one of my gripes. How is he
Oh
how
my
is he a good
gosh.
detective, bro? By freaking plot armor. That's how he literally just stumbles across freaking evidence and somehow it leads him to the
He
right
knows where
way.
to look.
Like they give us no backstory on how he's even a good detective. They're just like, "Hey, just believe us, trust
Bro,
us."
that's intuition, bro. You're born with intuition. Like you wanted him like to be
No,
some
that's like if dude, you would
bioengineered pet detective
you would
guy.
not watch a movie where the main character just has a certain gift and they never acknowledge or explain it. Like you would not watch
That's Batman. That's literally
you would
Batman.
not watch
What's the explanation for him being
you
smart?
would not watch a detective movie and then just every 5 seconds he just knows where to walk, knows where to look, and he's correct almost all the time. And so like that doesn't make it interesting. So it's just like how is he good? Like why do these animals love him for some reason?
That bro, I'm sensing some jealousy. Are you mad that he's just successful? He gets the women. He's a great detective. Like, what is there to
No, but
hate?
you've made these points before of like, well, that doesn't make no sense. They
What?
never gave us backstory on this character as to why are his motives this way or why can't it just be? I think this was the Madam Web gripe of with like the the main bad guy of like, well, why didn't they ever give us his motives of this or that or why is he this way or why? And it's like
Madam Web wasn't supposed to be a comedy movie.
no, but it's just talking about an element of the movie of like why is this a certain way, right? Not because this isn't the comedy. We're not talking about comedy right now. We're talking about why does Jim Carrey's character have these abilities? They never explained it, and we're just supposed to
Well,
we're
this isn't
we're
a
just
superhero
we're just
movie.
supposed to go along with yeah, but it's still some
You
supernatural.
wanted him to have an origin story,
Yes.
like, bro. It's a
Okay, so
comedic,
now we
goofy.
choose.
It's a slapstick.
So
Yeah, you got to look at the film
So
you're
now
reviewing.
we
Yeah.
choose when we have certain criterias for judging certain things. Like that doesn't even make sense because it was just like for him everything went his way, right? Everything was this way, that way. It would go this way. He'd do a goofy face and the goofy face would lead him into this next thing and it was like, bro, like how like it's just happening to happen because it needs to happen. And that's all it was. And
Like what? Like what one thing
bro,
happened?
how
Like what
how
one piece of evidence fell in his lap?
how did he know where that secret lair was in a mansion that he's never been with a guy he's never met in his whole entire life? He knew exactly to go into the bathroom that had a secret lair door that took him to this secret lair underground fish tank. Like, if
He
that's not
investigated the bathroom. Like he didn't just go. He didn't
oh,
just open the door
yes, he
directly.
did.
Didn't he snoop around first? And then he's like,
How
"Oh, here it is."
how does he know it's here?
He doesn't. He snooped around first.
No, he got lucky and then he went there.
He didn't. He doesn't go straight to it and go, "I know it's here." He looks around and then he finds it.
Dude does not look around in this probably 50,000 square foot mansion and then stumbles across the bathroom right there. Like, and and who puts their secret lair in like the main guest bathroom? Like that's also another dumb thing.
A villain in a Ace Ventura movie.
Exactly, it's goofy and dumb and it makes no sense and it's not funny.
No,
It's
it's
trying.
not supposed to be a serious detective movie. You got to look at the type of film. It's slapstick comedy.
Yeah, it's like
Things
not
will
even
happen to happen.
exactly, and it's not funny. So on top of because it was so not funny, I had to like start looking at the plot to maybe like have some interest in the movie and not just zone out completely at these absurd dumb faces that Jim Carrey was making every five
Oh my
seconds. Because
gosh.
bro, if you're telling me he did not make faces every 5 minutes, you're lying to me because he literally
That's that's part of his character. Like
exactly.
what character do you want him to just be stone face, like not do any expressions? Like his whole type of comedy involves your whole body.
And that's
Like
why I don't think that's
doing
funny.
it's a physical performance.
And that
So you could say I don't like physical performances. You like
okay, I don't.
jokes, like dialogue jokes, but
Okay, I
physical
do.
performances is a different type of comedy.
Yeah, I just don't think that's comedy at all. Like, because then anybody could be good at making body movements, and then you would think that's funny. Because if I do the exact same line as or body movement as Jim Carrey, then it's like, oh, that's funny because Jim Carrey did it. Versus like, it's harder. It's
Well,
harder to
that
tell a
no,
joke.
because
It's harder to tell a joke because you have to have your delivery correct. You have to have your line correct. Versus like, just shaking your ass and opening your butt cheeks and talking like
that's
that's
part
not
of the
funny.
delivery is like the voices he's making along with
All right.
the like a glove. That cracked me up, bro. When he
Bro.
was zooming in his car and then he does that ridiculous but also like perfect parallel
Yeah, every
drift
time.
park every time. That was funny.
That's not funny. That's just like, okay, he could do
Like a glove.
that. No, bro, no. The only thing that I think I really like from this movie, which I tend to like that more older movies do, is like the music,
Uh-huh.
how they put it of like those old fashioned sounding scores, like they had the detective like dun 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 dun, dun
Yeah, the
like
Mission Impossible
yeah,
music.
like when they have that during like his uh when he's like snooping for the dolphin in the mansion or like he's driving away and they have like getaway like I feel like those really make it feel like a more funny film. So they had a lot of music in this one that felt like old school and I was like, okay, see like I could get behind this. Like this
Oh, that music, that score cracked you up.
yeah, it did. I was like they know they're in a film versus the other times it's like you're trying too hard.
Well, uh, I'd say the world disagree with you because Ace Ventura: Pet Detective made $72 million,
That's
and then they
nothing.
gave him a second film that made $108 million, which was a 50% increase, and then Dumb
Mm.
and Dumber, 127 million, and then uh, The Mask, 119 million. Because if his body, if his physical comedy wasn't working, I don't think he would have gotten like 10, 15 more movies that were also successful.
Yeah, but it's like if you look at the time, like what type of movies were they making back then? Probably not that good
The
of movie.
90s,
No,
the
of that
90s,
of
the
these
greatest
type of
era of
comedy
movies ever.
movies, like Jim Carrey is like how they say those industry plants where like they see one guy make good and they're just gonna milk him, and at that point people are gonna just watch it for the name of Jim Carrey because the
You're
same
assuming people are just watching it to watch it. You
yeah
don't think they
like
found it funny?
no like Ace Ventura like that same year The Mask and Dumb and Dumber all came out in that same year, so like
The same year or same decade?
same year 1944 or
44,
1994.
1994.
Yeah.
There's no way. He made 3 movies in 1 year.
Google it. Google it. They did. So, uh,
1994. And then Dumb and Dumber. Dang, my guy was working.
my man was working, dude.
And guess what? All those movies are still classics.
But see,
They're not flops.
like The Mask, I'll agree. The Mask is funny. It works because he's a normal guy, but when he puts the mask on, he becomes this goofy, over the top character,
Oh,
which
you needed the origin story.
which fits into that story of being an absurd guy in a normal world. Like he has a reason. Versus these are just like I'm crazy because I'm gonna be crazy. So that's the
So
only
you
part.
think people can't just have a crazy personality without something traumatic and a backstory happening to them? Well, I was crazy because I lost my
No,
dog and he loved when I was crazy. So I'm
no,
crazy now.
not even that. It's just I don't think I don't think when you're when the person's crazy and you're trying to make that be the funny part, it makes sense as to why that's funny versus in the other one he's crazy for a reason, and when he is crazy he is funny because he becomes the mask versus Ace Ventura he's just crazy to be crazy, and that's supposed to be funny for some reason, and I don't know why.
See,
It's
but that's not. That is a comedy trope that isn't just Jim Carrey doing
who
Jim
else?
Carrey. That's a comedy trope. Look at any Will Ferrell movie or any even grown-ups movie. Billy Madison. What's his backstory? Like he has, oh, I'm crazy because blah blah blah. He's crazy because he's crazy. Or what about any Will Ferrell movie like where he's Anchorman? He's in his profession, he is extremely crazy and he acts a certain way. What is Steve Carell's backstory in Anchorman for being the dumbest person on the planet, but also like having a job? Or Napoleon Dynamite, why is he so awkward? We're following an awkward
Yeah,
character.
but see, like they all have like well, at least for two of those that you said, because I don't think I've seen any Will Ferrell movies. Steve Carell, he at least has a good delivery in how he says things and how he stands there and times how he says it, and like from him from 40-Year-Old Virgin, like when he's just kind of standing there and you have like a guy standing next to him like Seth Rogen, and like talking to him like, dude, like what are you doing? He's like just very awkwardly there playing the character, playing a 40-year-old man who's a virgin who would do things like that. So things he say fit into that. Where it's like Jim Carrey, he's supposed to play this pet detective. Well, why is he doing all this dumb stuff? Like it doesn't correlate to being a dumb over the top I'm gonna make faces character to what they're trying to portray him as versus like also Napoleon Dynamite, he plays like this awkward kid dude, and that's why he stands there, he's like dude, like, and because he's that type of character, so what he says matches the type of person he is versus like Ace Ventura is supposed to be a pet detective. What correlation besides one that you're gonna make up fits him being crazy? Like I don't know. That's why I'm like, I don't know.
So people just can't be crazy because they're bored crazy. Like that's their personality. That can't just be their personality.
I think people in the world that could be their personality, but that doesn't mean it's funny. And that's kind of what we were talking about, like it being funny. Like I don't think that's funny being crazy over the top because it just doesn't. It's weird him trying to do that versus if it made sense to make
Well,
sense, like in the mask, him being crazy makes sense, and that's where I'm like, okay, well that in the mask, I would think that is funny because it makes sense why he is crazy. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, one thing I think you don't know about is that
Oh,
his style of comedy wasn't. Um, I haven't seen the previous people that he's kind of taken inspiration from, but there's been a history of physical comedy type of performers that Jim Carrey kind of is like carrying the torch like for. And so there are other famous people from back then that he was like inspired by and took a lot of influence from,
yeah.
and he kind of implemented into his movies. And so I would understand that if like you haven't seen that type of comedy before and then it's just Jim Carrey doing it like in the 90s, it is like jarring and like like what is he doing? It's hard to understand like
Yeah.
why he would even do that.
Yeah, because that type of
But there
comedy is
are like
different.
several people. It is. And there's like even older ones that I've seen where I'm like it doesn't land for me,
Yeah.
but I do get what they were doing at the time and why people found it funny. It was just over the top. Like this says Jim Carrey had a number of idols, including Dick Van Dyke, Jimmy Stewart, and the Honeymooners Jackie Gleason and Art Carney. And I think some of those people were also physical type of performers.
Yeah.
And if you looked at his stand up, like Jim Carrey's stand up, he does a lot of impressions. I don't know if you've seen those. Have you seen his impressions on like Clint Eastwood or
No.
other characters?
I didn't even know he did stand up.
Yeah, he was like a stand-up comedian, and so his type of stand-up comedy in like the '80s was a lot of physical type of stuff where he's like contorting his body, and it's actually pretty funny because he'll contort his face in a way to where like when he does his Clint Eastwood impression, you almost believe he's actually Clint Eastwood, and he does it very well. And he'll like move his, I don't know, he'll contort his body in a certain way that I can't even explain, but it is very unique
Yeah.
and like sudden, where he was kind of the only one doing that at that time as well. And I guess it got popular in America because
And
he
I
gave
and
him a
I
lot of
get like
movies.
ridiculous faces and all that like could be funny to some people, but just me personally, I just don't find it funny. So like that's why it's a hard time watching it because it's like I'm like I just can't laugh at any of these jokes and I don't find it funny. So it's like very hard for me to understand. But like I could get just how some people think, making a fart sound is funny. Like I get it. Like some people find it funny. So it's like I'm not shitting on it. I'm just giving my perspective of like this is what I like to see in comedy movies. And as someone who's maybe trying to be comedic, like Jim Carrey, like
Yeah.
I have a hard time being like, yeah, that is funny. Props to you, bro. Like you're so funny. So
Yeah, definitely
I
not
don't know.
for everyone because I think Adam Sandler and Jim Carrey do fit in that thing where they kind of bring their specific style, which is, I think, a
Yeah.
benefit for both of them. It's like if you go to a Jim Carrey movie, you know what you're getting, which is a good thing. Like if you go to an Adam Sandler movie, you know what you're getting because you can pay your $10,
Yeah.
and if you're an Adam Sandler or Jim Carrey fan, you know for a fact that they're going to give you what you paid for. Like there's no, they
Yeah.
don't shy away or constantly try to flip flop. And I think that's what I respect about both of them is that they, I couldn't, because at the time I'm pretty sure Jim Carrey did have a lot of haters as well, because when it came to like the more serious critics, they shit on Ace Ventura and they didn't think it was a good movie. And specifically, there were these two critics. Their name was Siskel and Ebert, and they had this critic show. It was two guys, kind of like us, reviewing movies. They had their own TV show in the 80s and 90s, and when Ace Ventura came out, they had their own rating system of two thumbs up or two thumbs down. And they
Damn.
gave Ace Ventura a fat two thumbs down. And they even said word for word, like,
Damn.
I'm kind of glad this movie is so bad because usually people ask me, what was a bad film? I just have so many to pick from. But now I could tell them this
Oh
one.
my
And
god.
that was like word for word what he said about this movie. But
Dude, that's so messed up.
I know. But one thing that they're not popular for, but it was what people noted from their career was later
Yeah.
after all of his movies came out, they dedicated a whole 30-minute segment basically explaining that they didn't understand what he was trying to do or like the type of comedy that he was trying to bring to the theaters. And they said in retrospective they do have a deep appreciation for what he brings to movies, which, if you don't
Mm.
find him funny, that's completely fine because I don't find all of his movies funny. Not all the jokes landed. uh that talking butt scene might have gone on for too long, but I do think
Nice.
there should be some appreciation,
Okay, okay.
for that era
Yeah, and it definitely is an era, and just like how something might not be funny today doesn't mean it wasn't funny
at the
maybe 40
time.
years ago.
Yeah.
Um, but so this was something I was gonna ask you. So just because it is a comedy,
Yeah.
though, does it mean we can't critique different aspects of it, like certain plot elements or certain characterizations or certain things? Because you'll go back to, oh, it's a comedy, it's this, it's that. Like, so just because it is a comedy doesn't mean you should take away from all those other aspects.
Well, it's kind of like it kind of depends on the person and the case by case point, because there are some comedy movies where I find them so funny that I will like purposefully like overlook certain things that don't make sense or were bad. Like I'll purposely intentionally say I don't give a shit if that was bad. I loved all this other stuff, so like I can ignore it. And I think for some comedy movies, it kind of just depends on the person. Like if it's funny enough for you where you can ignore it, uh, that's fine. And it's kind of like that's what the artist, when they're making the comedy movie, has to gamble with. It's like if you take that risk where you're putting things in that don't make sense or that are objectively dumb, and Julian Lizama comes out and says that stuff is dumb because the comedy didn't hit, they took that risk. That's kind of like on them. So it's like nobody can tell you you're wrong for finding that dumb because he didn't make his comedy in a style that let you overlook it. And that's on him. So I think it's just a case like a person by person thing where I found it funny, so I overlooked it. But if you're doing that type of comedy, you are, that's on you.
Okay, yeah, because I had so many plot points where I was like, what the heck? Because the comedy was not hitting for me. I had to look at the story, bro, and I had to put pieces of what was going on together and this.
That's like the main difference, I think, though. Like I was just like, I'm enjoying this movie night with my wife. I'm a laugh, and I'm not even looking at the plot. I will admit I was not thinking what made sense or what didn't. The only thing that kind of stood out to me was like, that's obviously a woman. Like you're gonna try to tell me that man
at the end,
that man at the end is actually a football player. Like, come on, did she get a calf and like waist reduction? Like that doesn't exist.
And I was like, bro, that's the most like so I watch a show called Only Murders in the Building, and usually, and it's a detective show, so it's about 3 people and they're trying to find a murder. And usually how murders go and how they portrayed in film is first they'll have one lead, and that lead usually goes nowhere. Then they have the second lead, and that lead is usually the biggest lead of like, this is like, what's happened.
Like something they missed.
Like, or like for sure this is the guy. Like that's how they're portrayed. Like this second guy for sure is the guy. But then it's like out of nowhere they'll usually just throw in the third guy, and it's usually always like the third guy. Twist. Yeah, so in this movie I was like, okay, the first guy not it. Second guy, the kicker, they were on him for a while. I was like, for some reason, like the kicker, like he had a clear motive of like killing and all that. And even though technically it was him at the end, it still was like a twist of like, well, he became a girl. And then it's like, what the fuck? Like, I guess. Okay. Yeah. So.
They had to make it someone who was there all along.
Yeah, and like, how do you become such a high level detective?
Yeah, in such a short time. Like, you work your way through the ranks.
Bro was working 80-hour weeks or something, because there's no way he should have been... top of the top.
Wasn't he waiting for the Super Bowl? So, wasn't that like the Super Bowl in the 80s? So that kind of is like, what, 20, 30 years later, I guess? Maybe that...
It was 8 years later, because they said he went mental and then left 8 years later.
But did he go into the mental hospital like right after the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Yeah, shoddy timeline.
Like something else, I was like, bro, what the frick? Like the beginning opening scene, he's getting like the crazy BJ from that girl, and I'm like, what the heck is? What am I watching? I was like, what am I watching? And then they do just like the craziest scenes like that. I'm like, all right, Jim Carrey said, let's throw that in there. I swear I can make it funny. And then it's like
I actually thought that's a good example of his physical comedy, because I'm like, really, you're just the main character is getting a blowjob, and then when he started swinging like left to right, I found that like, I think it's telling the audience like, this is obviously not real, but it's just a joke. Like imagine the blowjob so crazy that it's sending him left to right, because so that cracked me up, where I'm like, that's physical comedy. Like it's not real, but it's hilarious to think about, like that it was that crazy or whatever. Because I imagined her like under the screen, if she was moving with his body, she'd be like a rag doll. Yeah, like a rag doll going back and forth. But But yeah.
So so there was just like little things where I was like, okay, like whatever. I guess we can get to my gripe section of the film, unless you have anything else you want to throw in there.
Oh, we're not even in your gripe section yet?
Oh,
We've been in your gripe
basically,
section this whole time,
the whole
bro.
movie.
The whole movie. But go ahead. If you got some more, go ahead.
The one gripe thing was like the character, the Courtney Cox
Yeah.
character. I don't know her name. Like she hires him, right? Usually when you
Like,
hire,
why is she
yeah,
involved in
like
the
you're not hanging
process?
out with the person you hire every day. Literally, she hires him. They go solve that murder of the guy who whatever. Like, no. Actually, backtrack. They hired him while he's looking for the rings. And then they're chilling together in the backyard. I'm like, bro, why are you chilling at this girl's house who just hired you? And then they go they go to that guy who got murdered and they're like, oh, he's murdered. You shouldn't go home. It's not safe. Boom, sex scene. I'm like, bro, what? Like this movie. I'm like, this movie is so
That's
dumb.
sexy.
Like, this makes no sense. Like, this girl is like a smart up there in the league, and then this freaking goofball, like whatever, like swoops her off her feet.
the way the way I understood it was at first I was like, really? But then I was like, wait a second. Think about like the most basic stereotypical detective movie. You know, the woman who hires the detective at some point in the film, they fall in love. Like he's a guy who doesn't usually socialize or he's a social outcast, but then she sees intrigue in that, or like she's intrigued by that persona, and then she admires his work ethic towards doing what's right, and then the detective gets the girl at some point in the film. I was like, oh, so if you think about it, this is just the most stereotypical detective movie. But then they're like, okay, write the script, but then take out the main
Oh
character
my
and then
gosh.
insert Jim Carrey and have him go wild. And I'm like, that's how I kind of see it, where that's what would happen in a detective movie, but
Jim,
this is a
oh
detective movie with
no.
Jim Carrey.
No,
Yeah.
and then some of
No.
like my minor gripes was, bro, this dude got bit by a shark and he's getting dragged left to right. I'm like, this scene I get, they're trying to make it funny, so not funny. And then he walks out with just his pants a
Oh
little
my
ripped. Like, bro would
gosh.
have had bite marks. He would have had blood. He would have, for a shark to be able to grab somebody and shake them left and right, there's sinking teeth in there, bro. So unless the shark was holding him by his feet with the shark fins or something, there's no way that scene should have happened. So that was another little.
Okay, well think about this. Think about this, dude. Remember in the beginning, he's like the Cinderella. All the animals come to him, bro.
That was a
He
cool
is
scene,
the
actually.
animal. He is the animal whisperer. So there's good. What's it called?
Good juju.
There's good evidence. There's good evidence to say that animals would never hurt him because he is the animal whisperer, bro.
No.
He was probably the shark was just agitated, so like, oh, I'm gonna throw you around a little bit,
Oh
get
my
out of here. But
god.
I know who you are, bro. You're the
Oh,
man.
I've heard about you.
Yeah, that's my head headcanon for that scene.
This dude has a response for everything, bro. What the heck? No,
I'm just trying to just. I had a good time in this movie.
I
I'm
could
sorry you didn't,
tell.
but
I had there was a couple reasons that kept it going for me. Like the fact that it talked about
uh
football was a big one, right? Like just the
just because it had to do
just
with
the pure
football.
fact that they actually talked about the I think it was the 84,
Seams out.
84, 86 Dolphins. Uh,
Oh, and that was all real stuff.
the kicker was not a real guy, but yeah, the Dolphins actually did win the Super Bowl and all that. And
Oh
with Dan
wow.
Marino, and Dan Marino he was like before Tom Brady, he was like one of the icons with like Steve Young, and so he was like
Oh,
another of
okay.
those OG top. So I was like, oh, they have Dan Marino in this movie, nice. So and they were actually at the Dolphin Stadium, like all stuff like that. I was like, okay, like it's football related, I can get behind it. But then I had to deal with silly faces and butt cheeks talking and stuff like that where I was like, I don't know. It's
No, you
whatever.
know what scene actually had me shocked by how long it went.
The what? The butt crack talking
What?
scene?
No, when this scene would never be made today, but the scene where he found out that he kissed a man,
Oh.
and he was like he was burning his clothes and everything, and like
Oh my
eating the
God.
toothpaste.
Dude, that was
And then he took that like shameful shower. He's like, oh, and like crying.
that actually was hilarious. That was funny. See, no,
I know, because I was like, oh my God,
no
like,
goofy faces, no teeth, just actual
that's
substance.
not true. The whole scene was
just actual
his goofy
substance
faces.
of like you understand why he's doing all this because he just found out he kissed a man and he's disgusted. So that's why he's doing all these things, not just for the sake of making these faces. So that made sense.
That's probably the most homophobic scene like in all.
How is that
movie
homophobic,
history.
bro?
Like,
That's just
because
you.
if you found out you kissed a man, it's like okay, but it's like you're ashamed. Like you should feel ashamed.
He was like
that
he didn't just kiss, bro. He had tongue deep in there, bro. They had a makeout session on the freaking desk, bro. And then he.
Okay, but here's the thing. Before he found out it was a girl, he was like, whatever. But as soon as he found out it was a man, he immediately felt like he committed the biggest sin ever, and that he needed to wash the filth.
Yeah,
off of
just
him.
like if you find out you did that with like your cousin or something, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like,
that's
gross.
completely different. That's completely different. One is incest, the other is just a kiss. Like, I'm not saying I would want a man to kiss me, but I wouldn't swallow a bottle of toothpaste like in shame and burn my clothes. Here's like, come on, burning your clothes. That's like this person is nasty for being. I don't know, but that scene did crack me up. Like, oh my God!
The last scene was actually cracked me up when he was like taking the clothes off of the girl, and then
and then she tucked the balls in the back.
He was like she must have the worst case of hemorrhoids, and then you just turned them around. Yeah. I actually started hollering, bro, when that scene happened, bro. That was a funny.
I didn't realize it at first, but did you realize that every single person spat because that girl had kissed them before?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so even towards the end, every single guy's like, ugh, and they like started washing their, like scraping their tongue. That's why that cop was like scraping his tongue because he's like, ugh, a man kissed me.
The most homophobic scene ever.
I know.
Oh,
that's actually such a movie or such a of the time.
See,
joke.
like that scene funny. They didn't make absurd nothing. It was a setup of something that happened and a big reveal. Just like a scene, a couple scenes before this one, when the guy or the girl, I guess, is about to shoot Jim Carrey. He's like, "No, don't shoot me. Shoot Dan Marino." And then Dan Marino's like, "No, shoot him." And then Jim Carrey's like, "No, shoot him. Remember, Lace is in." And I just started dying. That is so funny. That was like the funniest interaction of the whole movie.
Yeah.
So I see.
And also, I thought that last scene was hilarious too when it was like Pet Detective. I thought he was very like the physical comedy when he was hitting that mascot was so exaggerated to me that had me cracking up because he was doing like full swings and then front hand, backhand, front hand, backhand.
I actually had a gripe with that scene in particular because as a football player myself, played football growing up on an actual team.
Flag football. Let everyone know it was flag football.
It was actually real football, like with a helmet. Unlike this shelter boy over here who just threw a ball in a basket, and he's never had a man 200 pounds
a real man
run
sport.
at you and try to hurt you. He's never had to deal with that. So this sheltered boy doesn't understand.
I never dealt with CTE, but yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, he didn't. So anyways, as a football and experienced player like myself, you would easily have understood that when you play football against two teams, one team is on one sideline the other team is on another sideline on the opposing side, they
Oh,
wouldn't.
they're both on the same side.
Yeah, no, for some reason, this mascot was on the other side drinking their water. Like, bro, you have your own on your other side. You came to this side to
That's
cause.
so true. Why is
You,
he on?
yeah,
Why is he on their
yeah,
side?
you came to this side to cause problems. And so he kind of deserved getting beat up by Jim Carrey's character because he was on the wrong side. So that's something.
He was doing his job.
No,
Mascots usually they're supposed to troll, the other team. Good job,
what? I
Falcon.
guess if you can't, what's the saying?
Eagle.
If you can't handle the heat, stay out the kitchen. So, man's definitely felt the heat.
Ace Ventura brought the heat.
So yeah, those were my gripes for the movie. There's a few, but besides the main thing of the whole entire film, mid carry,
Mid carry.
yeah.
Well, you told me that you didn't have a film next, so I'm choosing
Wait,
for the
wait,
next
wait,
one.
wait.
Ace Ventura.
No,
Ace Ventura
no,
2.
No.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Sorry,
Wait, no.
sorry guys, we're canceling the pod. I cannot sit through another mid carry movie, waste an hour and a half of my life.
Oh my gosh. So you do got a movie.
I don't have a movie. I do have.
Okay, you were just gonna fight to not watch the second Ace Ventura movie.
I thought you were gonna go straight into just saying a different movie. So I was like, wait,
Okay,
we
okay.
didn't even say our ratings yet.
Yeah. So do you want to do the ratings now?
Do you have a meter? Because I can come up with them, but I don't really have a meter.
You've been coming up with the last couple, so I can come up with one. But if you want to keep that streak going, I'll let you. I was thinking dolphins.
How many?
For some reason.
Let's do that. That's fitting.
Not porpoise, specifically not a porpoise.
What's a porpoise?
Remember that. Remember he said like porpoises have this type of bill and this type of fin and this type of teeth, and he's like the dolphin we're searching for is a blah 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 blah.
Of course you would remember that.
I would. Iconic scene.
So how many dolphins are? Should I go for?
Not a porpoise.
How many dolphins am I rating this out of 10 dolphins?
Yeah.
So, if I were to rate this movie, I would say a 2 out of 10 dolphins. And
is that your lowest score yet?
I think we gave Madam Web like 1 web squirt. But
Okay.
the reason for me that it had very few funny scenes, right? Very few. The ones that were funny were okay funny. The end scene, just the fact that the movie was over was funny within itself, but the end scene was pretty funny. And overall, it's just Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey stuff. So if you like Jim Carrey, you'll probably like it. But me personally, I did not like it. I thought it was whatever. I thought the comedy was very surface level, 5th grade humor. I thought it was Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey stuff, showing his teeth, which he showed approximately 74 times. He made approximately 452 different body movements, and he approximately made 874 different faces. So overall, it's just Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey weird stuff. So if you're a fan of that, you'll probably like it. If you're not, you'll probably hate it more than me. So it was a whatever movie. I probably wouldn't watch it again. Definitely would never show any of my siblings or any of my kids this movie ever.
I guarantee you your siblings would laugh. Especially if they're younger, they would die.
Yeah, they're going to laugh at that crazy BJ scene. They're going to go crazy. No, I will never show them this absurdity of a movie because I'd rather watch them. I'd rather have them watch Doolittle and see what a real princess animal guy looks like than this weirdo who talks through his ass.
Ace Ventura would beat the shit out of Doolittle.
Bro, look at this dude.
And then solve the crime. And then solve the crime of his missing animals.
Yeah, with pure luck, by the grace of luck. With Doolittle, he'd get hands and feet dirty. He'd earn his victory. Unlike Ace Ventura, he didn't earn nothing. It just came to him. Dude's the luckiest.
Maybe that's his superpower, bro. Things come to him.
Yeah, at least explain it, bro. They didn't explain nothing in this movie. Anyways, I digress.
So
I digress. Let's hear what you had to say. How many dolphins, 1 through 10, do you give Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, starring Jim Carrey?
I honestly, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Eight
gonna,
out
I'm
of
gonna give it 8 dolphins, not a
it.
porpoise, out of 10.
It does. It doesn't even deserve 1, bro. Why do you
I
give it
think
8?
I think for its cultural significance, as well as for what it was doing for the time, its
Oh my
originality,
gosh.
and to how much it committed to the bits and everything like that. Yeah,
Originality. This is
yeah.
Snow White mixed.
Tell
This
me another
is
movie you've seen like this.
this is Snow White mixed with freaking Sherlock Holmes meets Sex in the City or something like. It's
Exactly. All those movies are different, and then this movie is a combination of like 5 different things.
yeah, but it's still like not original.
100% original. You can't tell me another pet detective movie.
That's like if I were to make Star Wars, but then I changed the main character's name. Like I changed it.
Well, everything's a mixture of everything if you think about it.
All right.
Yeah. So it is original. 8 out of 10. Not because it's the best movie ever. There are things that are
8 out
like
of
if you
10.
if you review it just like not considering the time, the cultural significance, or anything like, or the influence it had on future films.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
Then sure, it would
s-
be like maybe a 6 or 7, but I think all the other stuff bumps
Sorry
it up.
to our longtime fans. I know you guys come here for honest and accurate ratings on movies and films, and our ratings are trusted upon in the community of film. And I'd just like to let you know that today Anthony is actually feeling sick, and he hit his head
I'm
really
not in my right mind.
he hit his head really hard. So just please excuse him on this episode. We'll be back next week with a new
Yeah,
one.
I was playing football and I
Uh,
got CTE. So.
See, bro, that's funny. You see the callback? You didn't make no faces. You didn't show your teeth, and it was funny, bro. You
You
see?
can't see my teeth. I'm smiling. I'm making the face.
You're, you're showing the teeth.
Yeah, I'm showing the teeth.
Speaking
Anyways,
speaking of next week, what
okay.
what movie are we gonna be indulging on this week? Oh
Okay.
wait, real quick. Just want to
Yeah.
also another apology to our viewers that were expecting Train to Busan last week. We
I'm
had
not sorry. I'm just kidding.
we had some technical difficulties, and you'll probably never hear that review for the rest of your life because we will probably never re-record it. To sum it up, mini podcast at the end. We thought it was good.
Yeah, incredible film.
Yeah, we thought it was good. So,
Yeah. Also
what?
for Blowout. Yeah, great film.
They didn't even know we were watching Blowout. They didn't even know.
Oh, true, because we didn't. Yeah, we did not review Blowout, and we never were.
We did not.
We're never going to.
We did not record it, and the file also did not get corrupted, and so
Yeah.
I don't even know why we're talking about it. I don't know.
Let's move on.
Okay, good.
I wanted to ask you. Okay,
All right.
so quick yes or no. I kind of want you to curate
Okay.
this, right?
All right.
Do you want to do old, but you would still really like it, like let's say 50s, 60s, but it's one of those
Damn.
movies where you would be like that was still worth watching, like even to this
Okay.
day that movie's good, or would you do modern good film?
I think I'd rather do modern good film.
Okay, so modern good film. Then let's say, do you want to do a serious film, like one that has like a real serious, gritty plot, or do you want to do one that just has like a more of a wholesome, overall good movie that just leaves you with like a that was a movie type of feeling?
That was a movie type of feeling.
Okay. So that whittles down my choices. Would you want to do animated or live action?
Let's do animated. We haven't done animated in a while.
Okay, let's do
Wait.
animated then.
Okay, I guess we did just do Shark Tale, but let's do animated.
Yeah, let's do one more animated.
Okay.
I guess then we're gonna have to watch. This is actually my favorite animated film of all time. And
All time.
Of all
Ooh.
time, out of every animated
Okay.
film I've ever watched,
I
this
can't wait
one
to
blew me
I
away.
can't wait to just shit on it, bro.
Okay.
Just like you did with every one of my recommendations.
your animated films.
My Shark Tales, my okay, what is it? Let's hear it.
Okay, so this movie is written and directed by Satoshi Kon, and it's called Millennium Actress. It is probably top 5 greatest animated movies to ever exist, and I can't wait to talk about it on the next pod.
Millennium Actress. Is it a sub-dub movie? Like, is it a
It's a sub. It's a subtitle one.
This
I
dude.
know you're not.
This dude just wants me to struggle, bro. Like, he wants me to pay attention to a plot and come up with thoughtful ideas about the
Analysis.
plot, and then he wants me to read at the same time, bro. Oh my goodness.
Okay, wait. Do you want to switch it? Because if knowing that, do you want to switch it?
No,
I'll
no,
give you one revoke.
I'll do this. I'll do it.
Okay, bet.
Is-
But
did-
based on what I was just saying, what do
Uh-huh.
you think about the idea of both of us having a like one revoke for the year? Do you think we should let our fans comment and like our 2-3 fans comment and vote for that?
like a revoke? Like, no, I don't want to watch that movie.
Yeah, like what if we get one for the year where we're just like, no, like I'm exercising my revoke. Fuck that movie.
We can do it. I know you're gonna use yours probably.
Like soon, I
Like,
can't help myself.
You would use yours probably before I would ever use mine. Like, that's just how. That just shows the type of person Anthony is. He would say,
Oh my god.
he would say, I am not gonna watch X movie for X reason, and then we'd be like, okay, fine. But
I wish I had this revoked for the Super
the-
Mario movie. If I'm
Nah,
being-
no, you don't. See, it's engraved in your head. You like it now.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, we could do the revoke thing. How our people wouldn't be able to revoke it in time though, because if we said revoke right now, they wouldn't hear this episode until 2-3 weeks later, and then
Yeah.
so
I
it'd
think
have-
it's just
between
for
you
us
and I.
though. Like
Okay,
you
yeah,
say,
yeah.
between you and I. Like I for sure don't want to watch that movie. Like if I recommend like a 1930s movie, you could be like,
yeah, hell no.
not doing that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. New rule implemented, guys. Y'all heard it here first
Yeah,
from First
I'm
Time
signing-
Pictures.
We're signing the order right now.
Executive order signed. Okay.
Yep. Sending it through.
We send it to our HR person that we have.
Yeah, we'll get it notarized.
Yeah,
And,
we have
yeah.
HR.
Yeah. We have HR.
Cool. All right. So next week's episode is, what was it called again?
Millennium Actress.
Millennium Actress. It's a animated one, so I feel like animateds are kind of easier to watch because you don't take them as critical. But when it has a good story, it's like,
True.
ooh, that's a good story.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully this file doesn't get corrupted and and you're hearing this right now.
hopefully you are hearing this right now. I really hope so.
Yeah.
Okay,
guys.
guys. Catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.